Welcome to the stream, Mert. How you doing?
Good, sir. How you doing?
I'm great. Would you mind taking us through a little introduction of yourself and your company, just to kick us off?
Sure, of course. Yeah. My name is Mert. I work on Helios, which is not helium. I know
Yep.
Kyle was on. He was talking about his investment in helium, which we get confused a lot.
Yep.
And Helios does infrastructure, high performance infrastructure for Solana. And I also shitpost a lot on the twitter.com.
That's great.
Let's give it up
Yeah.
for
Sounds
all
like
of
you're
that.
doing God's work. What does infrastructure mean in this context? Are you building data centers? Are you just managing them? Are you just deploying nodes? Are you writing software? What's the shape of the team look like?
Yeah, I mean the short answer is yes.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we do some combination of all of those.
Yep.
Yeah, probably the least worst way to think about it is like some combination of Cloudflare, AWS, and maybe Stripe. And so in this context, we basically help developers or traders or whoever wants the data to get data from Solana super fast in a structured way and also write data to it super fast.
Got it. What are the different trade-offs? You mentioned Cloudflare. Like, is geolocation important as you build out infrastructure like this?
Yeah, so it depends on the blockchain, but Solana has a lot of pretty advanced trading activity. Now, the assets that they're trading are a little funny because you might get like, not Citadel, but like, let's say similar types of players really co-locating their servers to ape like Farcoin or something. But like the co-location and like these latency games do play a pretty big role.
Yeah, how advanced are the high frequency trading operations? What are they using? I know Jane Street writes everything in OCaml. Are we seeing like low level programming languages being used to trade these meme coins now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like you have people. I mean, I don't know if the audience here would consider like C and Rust that low level, but
Sure.
like everything from C and Rust to some people will get extremely degenerate and start going into assembly for certain parts of the stack or like raw networking code.
That's amazing.
Um, so yeah, it's quite a serious game played with very interesting assets. A
Yeah.
lot of fun.
What kind of players exist that don't like to talk about what they're doing and aren't
I was gonna ask
loud
this
that
question.
maybe aren't doing anything that's morally wrong or anything like that, but are just sort of
Under the radar.
under the radar.
They just don't want to talk about their alpha because they don't want to bring a bunch
Yeah.
of competition.
So the question is, what kinds of people like that exist?
Yeah, like are they?
Or what's the shape
are
of
they,
their
you know,
operation?
what-
What's the
yeah,
scale these
What are the different
days?
types of
Are
group?
they
Is
are they coming from other? Is it a new desk and an existing hedge fund, or are these completely new operations that have just scaled up from like an individual trader?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's pretty unique in that you have the existing types of like quants from Chicago or New York who will have some sort of operation. Not all of them, but like probably the ones that you know of already from
Yeah.
TradFi. A good amount of them are already kind of playing this game. And then they'll compete with like a set of interesting actors. Some of those actors might be like some of the prop trading shops from like Tokyo or just other parts of Asia. But then they'll be like competing with like this random 17-year-old kid from like Estonia in his basement. And like
That's
that
awesome.
kid actually tends to compete. And it's not just like a specific kid here, but like
Yeah.
that persona. And so crypto is interesting because you now have all these guys kind of on the same, roughly the same playing field. And it's interesting because it's also kind of why Solana was started by Anatoly, which is he basically wanted he had this vision that I think he got front run like once or something on one of these things, and he got so mad. He's like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna build this decentralized Nasdaq where everybody can compete.
Totally got it done. That's amazing. What in your mind? What's the most important elements of the Solana roadmap going forward from here? It feels like a lot's been built out. There's a very healthy ecosystem, but job's not finished. What in your mind is like the most exciting upcoming improvements?
Yeah, so we have a very detailed roadmap that I wrote about on solanaroadmap.com. And when you go to that site, basically you'll see 4 words and it just says increase bandwidth, reduce latency, nothing else to it. And basically everything is centered around making the thing go faster. Like there's, I think Kyle was talking about 00 as well. which is like a new fiber layer where you can do some more advanced like network level filtering. We have like Jump, for example, building a new client in C, which is meant to be much more performant. But everything, roughly speaking, on the tech side is always centered around how do we just make the thing go from point A to point B faster. And from a let's say a cultural or socioeconomic lens, it's very much about what we call the FAT thesis, which is founders, apps, tokens. So really just how do we attract, how do we form this association in somebody's mind if they're like a product builder? How do they think about, or why would they think about Solana first, right? So that when you have Ben Pasternak's or Lucas of the world or Alon, why should they pick Solana? And that's because like people like me, but also everybody from Solana Foundation and like investors and whatnot, how do we set up like the best friendliest founder infrastructure? So it's kind of like, you know, the Y Combinator of crypto in a sense.
Yeah.
What is the state of the UAE crypto scene, and how much do you actually feel inclined to travel outside of the UAE versus just waiting for people to come to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I am in the UAE like 360 days out of the year. But then now I'm in Montana where it's like UAE has no nature and then Montana has all the nature. So it's like this barbell strategy. But like, so I moved to the UAE from Canada, Toronto specifically, where like it is illegal to hold over or trade over 30,000 CAD, which is real like $8 USD, worth of any coins except for Bitcoin, Ethereum, which fair enough, and then Litecoin and then Bitcoin Cash. Okay,
Whoa.
so like
Vintage.
And leverage trading is illegal.
Yeah.
So just to give you an
They
idea of how
banned
like
leverage.
bizarre.
They banned leverage.
banned
That's so
leverage.
un-American. I'm unsurprised.
so
I
un-American.
shouldn't be surprised, but I am. Okay, so yeah,
I think it's because like one of the pension funds was like an investor in FTX or something.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which, you know,
remember hearing about
interesting. But like in the UAE, in terms of crypto specifically, for example, I can pay my phone bill in USDC, and I have, which is pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
And the government actually is like quite interested in like getting you, you know, on the phone and really trying to work out how do we actually like support the builders here as opposed to some other jurisdictions. But like the UAE, I like referring to it as kind of like the hotel for crypto, where like it's kind of just in the middle. So whenever you're flying anywhere, people just stop by. I remember the last time you wanted to host this crypto day, there was like a massive conference there, and I was like, John, what are you doing?
Decision. I know. It really shows you how native I am to crypto. I'm completely out of the loop. In fact, it ties to my next question. During the last cycle, I was really captured by the story of Solana. I thought the founders had a fascinating story. Obviously, still kind of coming from the outsider perspective, but I appreciated the technology they were building. There was that meme of like Lana. It's not as decentralized as it should be. It's not as pure of a technology as other chains. Talk to me, give me an update on that. Have the problems that people were surfacing, have those problems been solved, or were they never problems to begin with? Is it all just memes and it doesn't really matter because it's just about the perception? Obviously, the perception of Bitcoin has changed a ton. It was originally like, oh, it's going to be completely privacy based, and you know, it's very traceable. There's been an evolution of the Bitcoin narrative. Has the Solana narrative evolved, and kind of take me through the last couple of years?
Right. So with Twitter, most of the debate or discussions, let's say, happen on crypto Twitter, which is an amazing place for intellectual sparring, let's say.
Rigor.
Definitely nothing gets strawmanned or taken out of context. So like Sequelana, for example, was a jab from somebody from Ethereum who obviously is not a very big fan, but that's okay. You know, it was basically trying to draw the parallel that Solana is actually like this centralized database. And basically I made somewhat of a career out of saying that's wrong aggressively on the internet. And it's of course wrong because fundamentally Solana is a blockchain where you have thousands of different nodes, and really what a blockchain does is it's a bunch of different nodes functioning as one node, right? So that you shouldn't be able to actually tell. There was certainly quite valid criticisms, and there are still today. One of those was that like Solana would go down at like very high activity, right? So in 2022, there was this whole NFT craze where people would like really try to mint pictures of like these stoned, pixelated apes on the internet. And it started on Ethereum, but then Ethereum fees obviously went up, and so they came to Solana. But like Solana was not expecting people to be that passionate about certain pictures. And so that exposed a lot of interesting engineering problems in the core architecture. And we basically took those learnings and then we iterated a few better designs for the blockchain. And so what that allowed for is now when the next cycle came, which was with, meme coins and, the president of the United States launching Trump coin and then his wife following right after that. When that actually happened, this time the chain was actually ready to handle it. And that's why Solana has been basically like the main venue for most of these crypto use cases.
Where were you when you opened X and saw the president posting a meme coin? Do you remember where you were? Were you sleeping?
Oh man, this is okay. So I had just bought 8 Sleep. Okay.
No.
It had just came to the UAE.
It's literally the last ad we have to do. in the
Perfect
stack
segue.
There we go.
5-year warranty, 30-night risk-free trial, free returns.
Code TBPN.
TBPN, free shipping. Go check it out.
All right, continue. So you're in a deep slumber. You're like you got 90 minutes of deep sleep. You're comfortable. Did somebody shake you awake? What happened?
Yeah. So I'm like extremely pumped. I'm like, oh God, this is like the first night I'm gonna get a great sleep tonight. At like, I don't remember quite the time, but I remember just getting all these calls. And like I slept through most of them because of how good there was like a new feature on it. And then so one of them finally broke through. And I opened my phone and I was like, oh shit, Solana has gone down. I'm gonna kill myself. Everybody's gonna troll me on the internet. And then I look at my like company Slack because we power like a lot or most of the infrastructure on Solana. And then I'm like, dude, how come I'm getting paid so much? And then my co-founder was like, oh yeah, like Trump launched a shitcoin. And I was like, what? And I was like, is this real? I was like, Chad, is this real? But then like, it was handled so well by like the existing infrastructure and the team that like nothing was actually happening except for just a lot of like shenanigans on the internet. So that was the story of Trump, and it was a very chaotic day. And then so at the end of the day, I was like, oh, finally, let me just crack open a beer and watch like an episode of Mad Men or something. And so I sit down, and I shit you not, the second I cracked it open, I get another call, and it's like, dude, Melania just launched a coin, and it was like that George Bush meme, where it's like
just picturing that.
Second shitcoin is at the blockchain, and I was like, oh no.
Oh my god.
And then that's when things started going really haywire because you could not tell if it was a hack or like it was legit. And so those were a very fascinating. It was very hard to describe to my dad what was happening and what I do for a living.
That's hilarious.
Hey, well, hopefully he understands.
What fantastic war stories. Yeah, thanks for taking us through those. Those were really fun. It was great talking to you. We got to have you on again. This was fantastic. We'll talk to you later. Have a great time.
Cheers, Mert. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Enjoy Montana.
Get a nice